I did want to talk about this really quickly because it's like fucking finally. Bernie Sanders blames election loss on Kamala Harris, listening to billionaires over the working class. Sanders said while Joe Biden has been blamed as is there a word missing here? I think it might be. I don't know if there's a. Sanders said while Joe Biden has been blamed, I think election loss, it was immediately Harris's fault for ultimately, excuse me, for cozying up to billionaires. I think they meant to put the for the election loss, unless I'm like that's like somehow grammatically correct. Bernie Sanders blamed Kamala Harris for her election loss to Donald Trump, saying she chose to cozy up to billionaires instead of addressing the issues faced by the working class Americans. 83-year-old independent senator and former Democratic presidential candidate said that while Joe Biden has faced plenty of criticism for the election loss, it was ultimately Harris's fault. A lot of the people saying it was Joe Biden's fault that Kamala Harris lost the election, not true. It was the fault of Kamala Harris and her consultants. They did not run a campaign designed to speak to the American working class. Sanders said he absolutely believed Harris could have won, but she did not talk about any of the needs of the working class people. I mean, to be very clear, I think she spoke a little bit about it. And there's a lot of people that try and push this narrative that like she didn't have any policy issues, but like it's fundamentally not true. She said that she wanted to get price gouging under control after Kroger literally admitted in court that they were price gouging. And they kept prices inflated long after the COVID supply chains were restored. So she was addressing that. She also addressed home ownership. And like, to be very clear, now, I would have to look at what economists believe on this. From what I've seen, other states have done this, like other countries have done this, and to varying degrees. But I would have to look at more opinions to know for sure. But she also suggested like a 50K, I don't know if you would call it a stipend or what terms you would use. I think it was a tax credit for first-time homeowners. Like that is a policy. Like that's a clear policy, right? People can rewrite history as much as they want, but she suggested that is a clear-cut policy with an active goal. Like that's not, wasn't it 25K? It was, I believe it was 50K. I believe it was 50K. So she had, to be clear, she had policies in place, or she had suggested policies in place. The problem is when you get asked, would you do anything differently from Biden? And Biden is the guy who's like, I'm going to cancel all the student loans. And to be clear, like the court stopped him from being able to do a lot, but he also didn't fucking fight for it at all. They didn't fight to codify Roe v. Wade at all. When you make all these promises and then you don't follow up with any of them, and then your successor says, also, I wouldn't do anything differently. What do you think that says about the policies that they were suggesting in the first place? She was suggesting policies. She was suggesting ways to act on inequality. But then she also says that the guy who also did the same thing and didn't actually enact any of the change, she would do the same thing as him, which is fucking crazy. Also, someone else said, this chat message. I'm not like putting you on blast. I'm just having a conversation clearly. She didn't message enough about it. When she did, her messaging wasn't good enough or anything that provided hope. I mean, I agree with you. I think her messaging was really bad, but that goes back to her campaign being bad, right? Like, but this wasn't even the chat message I was trying to read. But I agree with you. I think it's just that the article also agrees with you. I'm just claiming that I'm just pushing back against the people that said she had no policies, which is not accurate. She had policies, right? She just like, nobody trusted her to enact them because she just followed Biden, who didn't do shit. He did like a couple of things. There were a couple of good things in Biden's presidency. Wait, there was someone else. I love Bernie, but it took him so long to say this. Yeah. Wait, there was someone. Oh, here, this person. Yeah. Again, I'm not like flaming or anything. I'm just having a conversation. She gave no policy to fix it. She just said, we're going to fix it. Sure. I think that she could have been more clear about her price gouging fix, to be very clear. I agree with you. But what I will say is that that's not what the article is talking about. It's not talking about whether or not she had clear things. It's about whether or not she addressed the working classes people. They didn't run a campaign designed to speak to the American working class, which I think there were moments that she did, but it wasn't the focus of her campaign. Because, like, realistically, Trump did the same shit. He just says, I'm going to do things to fix it. I'm going to do tariffs. And it's like, how are tariffs going to functionally fix it? If you put them in place to try and bring manufacturing back, and then you take them out, and then you put them back, and then you So, yeah. She also abandoned her populist policies when her CEO brother-in-law joined the campaign. I mean, the entirety of, like, I think the entire campaign can be summed up by them dropping the weird slogan. Like, that was crazy. Like, that was such a functionally good slogan that was working so well. And they were like, well, we wouldn't want to be mean. We wouldn't want to win an election, God forbid. And then there was the Liz Cheney thing. And then Mark Cuban, I believe, was more just like anti-Trump than he was anything else. Not to say that Liz Cheney wasn't as well, but like Mark Cuban especially, he just like, as a business person, just like doesn't like, as a capital owner, excuse me, doesn't like Trump. Because Trump doesn't treat his fellow capital owners well. They don't agree that it's like, no, we should be mean to all those people and then be nice to each other. Which is why Mark Cuban feels like rebuffed by Trump. Because it's like, wait, in your world, you're at the top and everybody else is below you. No, wait. We should be the capital owners that get along and then put everyone else down. What the hell? As a person of capital. Yeah. And to be clear, Dr. Felcher, I agree. It's just that nobody believed her. I stopped. So I was like on the fence. And at the end of the day, I ran with the Kamala Harris campaign. I ran with it. Okay. Because I did think it was better. And I thought it was better for people living in America. Right. At the end of the day, I'm not going to be able to convince people to vote for her if they're like, their position is very firm on like genocide, which is a fair thing. Like, I can't tell people, I'm sorry, there are things more important than genocide. That sounds like a fucking crazy person thing to do. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to tell people that there are things that are more important than genocide. I'm sorry. I'm not doing that. And then her refusal to address these people. And then her cozying up to like every single billionaire that she can cozy up to. And then her saying she wouldn't do anything differently from, like, it was a comment about Biden where I was like, oh, she's just not going to do anything that she's saying she's going to do. I think everyone should have a reasonable distrust of like politicians that say they're going to do something and then don't actually, and be concerned that they won't actually do them. But like, I'll have a healthy skepticism. I'll still vote for the person if I think that there's a chance that they'll do them. Once you say you wouldn't do anything differently from Biden, you're just telling everyone, I'm not actually going to follow up with these policies. It's just annoying that it took Bernie so long to talk about this. But obviously he couldn't talk about it during the election, right? Because he's just hurting her chances to win. And he's definitely going to want her to win more than anyone, more than like Trump. So he's probably like trying to build up to, I don't know, something in 2028, standing behind a specific candidate that like is worthwhile in 2028. That would be my guess. But yeah, I don't know. We'll see. We'll wait and see. We'll wait and see. It's also not about her necessarily. It's about the entire Democratic machine being owned by corporations that hate our country. Yep. Totally agree with you. In fact, I don't think you'll find people who will. I don't think you'll find a lot of people who would disagree with you. And you're definitely not going to find a lot of people in here that would disagree with you on that. But with that, chat, that will be. Oh, excuse me. Already on. That will be all for today's stream. Fungal Friday is over.